Boards of directors are supposed to be the ultimate safety net, the guardians protecting a company from itself. They're there to ask the tough questions, to challenge leadership, and to ensure everything is running as it should. Today, we read diving deep into the silent collapse of corporate governance and how the very structures designed to prevent disaster can end up enabling it. Let's start with the basics. What is a board of directors even for? In theory, their job boils down to three key functions: oversight, accountability, and independent judgment. Oversight means they keep an eye on the company's strategy and performance, making sure management is steering the ship in the right direction. Accountability means they have the power to hire, fire, and compensate the CEO and other top executives. They are the ultimate bosses. And most importantly, they provide independent judgment. They are supposed to be an outside voice, free from the internal politics and groupthink that can plague a company. They bring fresh perspectives and are meant to challenge assumptions, not just rubber stamp decisions. The reality, as we'll see, can be very, very different. So, how does a board go from being a powerful watchdog to a passive spectator? It often happens slowly, almost invisibly, as a company grows. In the early days, everyone is scrappy and focused on survival. But as a company finds success, a charismatic founder or a celebrated CEO starts to accumulate more and more power. They become the face of the company, the visionary leader who can do no wrong. Their influence grows not just with the public and employees, but inside the boardroom itself. The board's role begins to subtly shift. Meetings that were once about rigorous debate and strategic oversight gradually turn into presentations. The dynamic flips. Instead of the board managing the CEO begins to manage the board. And that's when the danger really starts to set in. Now, imagine you're on the board of a company that's absolutely crushing it. The stock price is soaring, the media loves you, and every new valuation is higher than the last. In that kind of environment, what's your incentive to rock the boat? When everything is going up, asking tough questions can feel disruptive, even disloyal. quarterly reports are glowing, the projections are optimistic, and the CEO is a genius. The silence isn't born from malice. It's born from comfort. Doubt feels unnecessary when you're surrounded by overwhelming evidence of success. The critical function of the board starts to atrophy, not because of a crisis, but because of its complete absence. This problem gets even worse when you consider how information flows to the board. Directors don't work at the company day to day. They rely entirely on the information that management provides them. And what do you think that information looks like? It's almost always carefully curated. Instead of raw data, they get polished dashboards highlighting key successes. Instead of open-ended reports, they get concise summaries that steer them toward a specific conclusion. And if a director does try to dig deeper, they might run into barriers. Need to worry about. The CEO and the executive team become gatekeepers of information. The board ends up seeing only what it's allowed to see, filtered, sanitized version of reality. They might think they have a clear picture of the company's health, but they're actually looking at a carefully constructed narrative. This control of information is a powerful tool. It allows leadership to frame the conversation, manage perceptions, and subtly guide the board toward the desired outcome, which is usually approval and applause. So, why don't more directors speak up when they sense something is wrong, or when they feel they're not getting the full story? Well, there are powerful reasons why they stay quiet. First, there's reputation risk. Being a board member at a high-flying company is prestigious. If you become known as a difficult or disruptive director, you might find it harder to get invited onto other boards. Then, there's the social pressure. Boardrooms can be like exclusive clubs. The other members are your peers, powerful, successful people you might see at industry events or charity galas. Finally, there's the legal complexity. Directors have a fiduciary duty to the company, but disagreeing with the consensus can feel legally risky, especially if things go wrong later. Silence, paradoxically, often feels like the safer, personal option. It's easier to go with the flow than to stand alone, risk your reputation, and potentially face legal blowback. Then comes the collapse. It follows a predictable and heartbreaking pattern. A journalist uncovers a story. A regulator launches an investigation. Or a key employee turns whistleblower. Suddenly, the truth comes out, and the carefully constructed reality shatters. This is the moment the board finally wakes up, but it's far too late. They are now in full-blown crisis mode. Their decisions are no longer about strategy or oversight. They are about damage control. How do we limit the legal liability? How do we manage the public relations nightmare? The board's failure to act earlier didn't just allow the crisis to happen. It guaranteed that when it did, it would be catastrophic. The lessons are crucial, not just for board members, but for anyone interested in how power and accountability work. First, true independence matters. A board filled with the CEO's friends or allies is not a board. It's a fan club. Directors must have the independence and the courage to challenge, question, and dissent. Second, questions protect value. Skepticism isn't cynicism. It's a vital part of good governance. Every question a board member asks is an act of protecting the company, its employees, and its shareholders from unseen risks. And finally, silence is not neutrality. In the face of incomplete information or a dominant CEO, saying nothing is a choice. It's a choice to approve, a choice to accept the status quo, and a choice to abdicate responsibility. When the stakes are this high, silence is an active and often devastating form of participation. A board's greatest power isn't in its vote, but in its voice. And when that voice is lost, everything else is sure to follow. The stories of companies that rise and fall are fascinating because they are stories about human nature, about power, trust, and the quiet failures that lead to loud collapses. If you want to understand the hidden forces that shape our world, from boardrooms to executive suites, make sure to subscribe to Behind the Billion. We create documentaries that explore power, control, and the anatomy of failure. Thanks for watching.